Lyria had always felt out of place, even among her own kind. Standing at 7 feet 3 inches, she towered over most Valorians, and even more over humans. Her body was strong, her muscles well built, yet she carried a quiet insecurity that clung to her like a shadow. Despite her size and strength, she had been told repeatedly that her body was unsuitable for creating life, and she had begun to believe it herself. "I'm too big. I'm not breeding material," she murmured, her voice heavy with self-doubt, as she watched the other Valorian women with envy, those who effortlessly carried life cores that glowed softly within them, a sign of new life forming. Evan, a human mechanic and former soldier, had only recently arrived on Astra 9, the joint colony where humans and Valorians worked together to stabilize a struggling outpost. He was of average human size, lean but solid, with a quiet strength that was easy to underestimate. He didn't know much about Valorian biology or culture yet, but he had a keen mind for mechanics and a willingness to help anyone in need. When he first met Lyria, she had seemed intimidating, her height and powerful presence almost unreal. But he saw past that. He noticed the subtle tension in her shoulders, the way she avoided direct eye contact when others praised her skills. He saw someone who carried more doubt than pride. The colony was quiet that morning, the hum of machines and distant energy fields providing a gentle background noise. Lyria was at the reactor stabilizer, checking the energy conduits for irregularities. Her fingers moved expertly over the controls, but there was a subtle tremor in her hands, a sign of stress. She muttered calculations under her breath, attempting to correct a slight imbalance that had persisted for days. The Valorian engineers had grown frustrated with her slow progress, whispering among themselves that perhaps she was too large, too clumsy for delicate work. Their words echoed in her mind, adding weight to her insecurities. Evan entered the reactor chamber cautiously, the doors sliding open with a soft hiss. He carried a toolkit, but more importantly, he carried a determination to help. He had noticed the alerts on the colony monitors indicating rising instability in the reactor core. If the imbalance wasn't corrected soon, it could trigger a meltdown, endangering everyone in the surrounding habitat domes. He approached Lyria carefully, aware that she might not welcome human interference in Valorian engineering. "Need a hand?" he asked, his voice calm and steady. Lyria looked up, startled. She wasn't expecting anyone, and certainly not a human who dared to speak to her while she was working. Her large eyes narrowed, a mixture of suspicion and frustration. "I don't need help," she said firmly. "This is delicate work. You wouldn't understand." Evan smiled faintly. "Maybe not yet, but I can try. Sometimes an extra pair of hands or eyes makes a difference." She hesitated, glancing at the flickering readouts on the control panel. The imbalance was subtle, but dangerous. Without someone to help stabilize the conduits, the pressure could build too high, causing an uncontrolled release. Finally, she nodded, not trusting herself alone to handle it. As they worked together, Lyria noticed something surprising. Evan didn't treat her differently because of her size or her species. He didn't step back or show fear. He moved alongside her with careful precision. Slowly, a sense of calm began to seep into her. His presence, steady and focused, seemed to anchor her nerves. For the first time in years, she felt someone might see her for her skill, not her body. Then the reactor shuddered. A surge of energy pulsed through the chamber, the lights flickering violently. Lyria's instincts took over. She reached for the emergency stabilizer, her muscles straining as the energy conduits overloaded. Sparks flew, and a sudden burst of plasma shot toward her. Evan reacted instantly, tossing a specially reinforced tool into her path. The device emitted a protective energy field, absorbing the plasma just long enough for Lyria to regain control. The room was silent for a moment, save for the soft hum of the remaining systems. Lyria's chest heaved as she tried to process what had happened. She looked at Evan, who stood calmly, as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from something else she couldn't name. Gratitude, admiration, perhaps both. "You saved me," she whispered, disbelief coloring her tone. "That shouldn't have been possible." Evan shrugged modestly. "We saved each other, I'd say. Now let's make sure this core doesn't decide to explode next." As they worked together to stabilize the reactor, Lyria felt a strange warmth in her chest. At first, she dismissed it as lingering adrenaline, but the sensation persisted. Hours later, when she had returned to the medical wing for routine scans, the colony's healers delivered news that stunned her. A new life core was forming within her, something no one thought possible for her body. The core glowed faintly on the monitors, rhythmic and stable, a sign of life beginning in a Valorian who had long believed she was incapable of such creation. Lyria's mind spun. This can't be real," she whispered, staring at the readouts. "My body, it's too big. It can't." The healers looked at each other, cautious. "It is real," one of them said gently. "We have never seen this before in someone of your stature. The catalyst seems unusual." Lyria's gaze turned toward Evan, who had been quietly observing. "What did I do wrong?" she asked, panic creeping into her voice. "You didn't do anything wrong," Evan said carefully. "It seems my energy during the reactor incident somehow resonated with yours. That's all. You were never unfit. You were just waiting for the right spark." Her skepticism battled with the hope rising in her chest. Could it be that simple? Could a human, someone so different from her own species, awaken a dormant ability that no Valorian had thought possible? She had spent years feeling useless, believing she could never contribute to the continuation of her people. And now, in a way that defied expectation, life had chosen her. The news spread quickly through the colony. Some Valorians were amazed, others skeptical. Humans whispered among themselves, noting that perhaps the myths of Valorian biology weren't as absolute as they had believed. Lyria became the center of attention, a symbol of something new, something hopeful. But amidst the excitement, she felt a profound loneliness. She had achieved what many thought impossible, but she had done so with a human, someone who didn't even fully understand the weight of her culture or the significance of a life core. Would others accept this? Would she be judged or celebrated? Evan approached her later that evening, offering a quiet presence in the small medical chamber where she had been left to rest. "You're not broken," he said softly. "You were never unworthy. You just needed someone who could see your strength." Lyria looked up at him, eyes wide. For the first time, she didn't feel the familiar weight of inadequacy pressing on her. Instead, there was something lighter, something she hadn't felt in years, possibility. She allowed herself a small smile. Maybe you're right," she said. "Maybe I just needed help." He nodded, understanding without words. They were an unlikely pair, a human and a towering Valorian, brought together by circumstance, by danger, and now by something far more profound. Together, they had sparked life in a way that no one had thought possible, challenging beliefs, traditions, and assumptions about what was possible. Over the next few days, Lyria experienced the strange new sensations that came with the awakening of her life core. She felt warmth and pulsing energy beneath her skin, a rhythmic vibration that mirrored her heartbeat. She stumbled occasionally, overwhelmed by the unfamiliar sensations, and Evan was always nearby, offering guidance and steady support. He never overstepped, never treated her with condescension. Instead, he mirrored her patience, a calm anchor against the storm of change in her life. The other Valorians began to notice a shift in her demeanor. The quiet insecurity that had clung to her for so long began to fade. She stood taller, moved with more confidence, and even allowed herself moments of pride when others praised her skill and resilience. The colony started to view her not as the Valorian who could not carry life, but as the one who had defied impossible odds, a living symbol of potential and unity between species. Yet, despite the support and the admiration, Lyria could not ignore the doubts that lingered in her mind. "Is this normal?" she asked Evan one evening as they watched the twin suns set beyond the colony domes. "Am I changing too fast? Is it dangerous?" He shook his head. "You're experiencing something unique, yes. But danger isn't always a reason to be afraid. You're strong, Lyria, stronger than most, and you're not alone. Whatever happens, I'll be here." For the first time, she truly believed him. She realized that strength was not just in the body, or even in the ability to bear life, but in resilience, courage, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. With Evan's presence and the awakening of her life core, she felt a purpose that went beyond survival. She was part of something larger, something that could bridge the gap between humans and Valorians, a living testament that differences were not limitations, but opportunities. As night fell over Astra 9, the colony hummed quietly around them. Lyria rested in the medical chamber, her mind alive with thoughts of what had happened and what was to come. She glanced at Evan, who was checking the monitors once more, and felt a gratitude deeper than words. "Maybe I'm not too big," she whispered to herself. "Maybe I'm exactly what was needed." And with that quiet realization, Lyria closed her eyes, letting the soft glow of the life core pulse beneath her, a new beginning silently unfolding within her. The days after the awakening of Lyria's life core were filled with cautious celebration, but not all attention was friendly. While many in the colony were inspired by the impossible event, some Valorians whispered in shadowed corridors, questioning the human's role in the miracle. Noble houses, always attentive to symbols of power, began to see Lyria as a potential tool. Her life core could strengthen claims, alliances, or influence, and the fact that a human had triggered it made it even more controversial. Some feared that human energy might interfere with their sacred traditions. Lyria felt the tension immediately. She had spent her life believing she was unfit, and now she was being pulled into a storm she had no desire to face. The energy within her pulsed stronger each day, demanding attention. She struggled to move without feeling its weight, as if the life core inside her were alive with curiosity and strength. The healers warned her to pace herself, but the colony's whispers made rest difficult. Evan stayed close, observing her silently but always present. His calmness was a counterbalance to the growing anxiety. "You don't have to face them alone," he reminded her quietly as they walked through the corridors toward the central monitoring station. "We'll handle this together." She nodded, though unease lingered. "I don't know if it's enough. They think I'm weak because I am different. They think a human's involvement makes me tainted." "You're not tainted," Evan said firmly. "You're stronger than anyone who doubts you, and sometimes it takes an outsider to show them what's possible." Their path through the colony brought them into the main atrium, where some of the nobility had begun to gather. The air was thick with polite tension. The leader of one prominent house, a tall Valorian named Tharion, approached with measured steps. His eyes were sharp, curious, and wary. "This is unprecedented," Tharion said, his voice echoing slightly in the atrium. "A life core formed in someone deemed biologically incompatible, and a human was involved. What exactly is your role in this human?" Evan stepped forward calmly. "I was helping repair the reactor when the energy surge happened. That's all. I didn't interfere with her biology deliberately. What occurred naturally through resonance. Tharion's gaze flicked to Lyria, his eyes narrowing slightly. It will need protection. The energy within her could destabilize if mishandled. This could endanger the colony, or worse. I understand, Lyria said, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. I will not let it endanger anyone. I will manage it. Perhaps you underestimate the risk, Tharion said, his tone sharp. Your body is not built to contain such energy. Even with the human's assistance, it could overload. We must decide how to control it. Evan glanced at Lyria. We'll find a way. Together. The council decided to monitor Lyria closely, setting up advanced containment and monitoring systems. But within her, the life core pulsed with increasing intensity. It seemed to respond to stress and doubt, growing brighter, almost aware of the emotional energy around it. Every time she felt tension, the core shifted and vibrated, sending waves through her body that made her knees weak and her vision blur. Despite her fear, Lyria did not retreat. With Evan's guidance, she learned to focus her mind, channeling her energy calmly and steadily. Evan taught her human techniques of meditation and concentration, and she combined them with Valorian practices she had learned over her life. Slowly, the pulses became more regular, the surges manageable. But just as they seemed to gain control, another danger appeared. A faction of the colony, believing that the life core represented a power they could claim, tried to intervene directly. They argued with the council, demanding the life core be isolated and controlled by their specialists. Lyria felt the pressure intensify, and for the first time she felt true fear. Evan stayed by her side. Don't let them scare you, he said. Your strength isn't about size or tradition. It's about courage. You've already done what no one thought possible. You can do this too. When the faction attempted to approach the containment chamber without permission, Lyria and Evan acted. They moved to the control systems, recalibrating the energy dampeners, stabilizing the fluctuations before anyone could interfere. The life core glowed steadily, responding to their coordinated efforts. And the would-be intruders were forced back by the colony's security systems. The event drew attention from across the habitat domes. Scientists, engineers, and healers marveled at Lyria's resilience and the unusual energy stabilization. Even Tharion, previously skeptical, could not deny the effectiveness of their teamwork. The combination of human ingenuity and Valorian biology had created something remarkable, something that might alter the understanding of both species' capabilities. Yet the core itself began to change. Its energy pulses grew more complex, almost as if it were alive in a way that exceeded any Valorian precedent. Lyria felt it stretching within her, seeking balance, and she realized that the energy could not simply be contained. It had to be nurtured. Evan proposed a daring solution. He would enter the Valorian cryobond chamber, a structure designed for energy synchronization between two beings. Normally, humans were not compatible with the chamber, but his previous resonance with her had created a unique connection. With careful planning, the two could synchronize energies, allowing the life core to stabilize fully without risk of overload. It's dangerous, Lyria said, concern and fear in her voice. You could be harmed. Evan shook his head. I've faced worse. I'll be careful. And I trust that together, we can do this. The chamber was prepared carefully. Lyria positioned herself within the central energy cradle, while Evan entered the smaller human interface. The chamber hummed to life, enveloping them in soft, pulsating light. The life core within Lyria began to glow brighter, responding to the synchronization. Evan extended his hands, energy resonating through the interface, and the pulses aligned. At first, the resonance caused a shock wave that threatened to destabilize the chamber. Lyria gritted her teeth, focusing on her breathing and guiding the energy with precise movements. Evan matched her focus, holding the interface steady, his determination shining through. Slowly, the life core's pulses settled into a harmonious rhythm. It was then that the true nature of the miracle became clear. The life core was no longer just an awakening of dormant potential. It was a symbol of unity. The combined human and Valorian energies had created a stable, self-sustaining core, glowing brighter than anything the colony had seen in decades. Lyria felt a wave of relief and pride. She had done what she once believed impossible, not alone, but with the support and courage of a human who had believed in her from the start. As the chamber lights dimmed, Lyria stepped out carefully, her energy lighter and more controlled. The life core remained stable, glowing faintly within her, a beacon of hope and proof of possibility. The healers and scientists monitoring the process were astonished, noting that the fusion of human ingenuity and Valorian biology could represent a new era for both species. Outside the chamber, the colony gathered quietly. Whispers turned to applause as they witnessed the successful stabilization. Lyria looked at Evan, gratitude and admiration shining in her eyes. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said softly. "You never could have done it without yourself," Evan replied gently. "I just helped guide it. You're stronger than anyone ever realized." For the first time, Lyria truly believed it. Her body, her size, her strength, they were not limitations. They were her gifts, amplified by courage, intelligence, and trust. She had doubted herself for so long, only to discover that her greatest power had been within her all along. In the following days, the colony embraced the miracle. Lyria became a symbol of resilience, courage, and the potential for unity between humans and Valorians. The life core, once thought impossible, thrived within her, its energy stable and balanced. Scientists studied it, healers observed it, and the next generation of Valorians looked upon it with hope. Through it all, Lyria and Evan remained side by side. Their bond was quiet but unbreakable, forged in moments of danger, nurtured in moments of calm, and strengthened by shared triumph. Lyria had learned to trust not only herself but others, discovering that courage and compassion could overcome doubt and fear. As the twin suns of Astra 9 set behind the colony domes, Lyria felt a serenity she had never known. The life core pulsed softly within her, a constant reminder of what she had achieved and the life that lay ahead. She glanced at Evan, who watched the horizon, his presence steady and reassuring, and she realized that the impossible had become reality. Together, they had changed the course of her life, the understanding of their species, and the future of the colony itself. Lyria whispered softly to the life core within her. "We did it. We really did it." Evan turned and smiled. "Yes, together." And as the light of the setting suns bathed the colony, a new era began. Not just for Lyria, not just for the humans or the Valorians, but for the possibilities that arose when courage, trust, and determination met in harmony. The life core was more than a symbol of life. It was a testament to hope, unity, and the extraordinary potential that could be realized when differences were embraced rather than feared. In that moment, Lyria knew that she would never doubt herself again. She had been told she was too big, too unusual, too unfit. She had been wrong. She was exactly what was needed, and with courage, resilience, and the quiet strength of a human who believed in her, she had become something far greater than either of them could have imagined.